Begin with this morning, Israel and Iran are increasing their attacks on each other, while President Trump weighs a big decision about whether the U.S. should even get involved. Overnight, one Iranian missile hit a major hospital in southern Israel, causing very heavy damage there. In the meantime, CBS News has learned that President Trump has approved attack plans against Iran, but he's holding off on a final decision for now, he says. Deborah Patta starts off our coverage at the location of the bombed hospital. Deborah, good morning to you. What can you tell us?
Good morning. This is Soroka Hospital, and what you are seeing behind me are paramedics and first responders who are taking patients who were already receiving care in the hospital when the attack took place. They are being evacuated to other health facilities. The moment an Iranian missile slammed into Soroka Hospital in Beersheba this morning. Inside.
Yeah, for the record, once again, this kind of coverage is shocking. Like, I didn't know mainstream media had the capacity to look at a hospital that was bombed and go, this is unacceptable. Think about the victims. Because, you know, I've been alive for at least the past fucking 20 months, and I've been watching closely, and I never heard this. So now, in the interest of parity and fairness, will they actually turn around and say, well, here is the reason why Iran struck this hospital, and we believe the Iranian government? Will they turn around and say, well, the RRGC statement implies that there was military usage for this hospital. It was a dual-use hospital, and therefore it's actually technically justifiable? Because that's what they said. That's what they said for Israel every single time. That's what Israel lied, and they went along with that lie over and over and over and over again. They're absolutely disgusting for this, but I will say one of the differences for the media is Israel lets them get in and see these sites. They don't let them go to Gaza. No, I know, but there are journalists in Gaza. There are doctors in Gaza. That's the difference. There are literal journalists in Gaza. They could just fucking tap in and talk to said journalists in Gaza. Al Jazeera cannot be the only fucking outlet that shows the damage internally. There is first-hand accounts. You're not wrong, though. Yes, that is the whole purpose of why Israel doesn't allow Western media to enter the Gaza Strip, because they don't want the Western perspective to be clouded by the humanity of the Palestinians and the inhumanity of the Israeli occupying force. I haven't been keeping up in the last 24 hours. Did Israel struck a hospital first? Yes, Israel struck a hospital 2 days prior. Yeah, allowing Western journalists to visit scenes of the strikes plays a huge part in how Western audiences understand the conflict. The emergency room at Soroka was still opening when we arrived. One Palestinian doctor had an IV port in his hand and cut open on his arm. He was still working, treating Muslim and Jewish patients despite being wounded in the ballistic missile strike. When they have doctors, literally like Western doctors, right? When they have Western healthcare professionals that fucking go out and work in these hospitals in Gaza, and they are being interviewed, what do they ask them? They go, hey, I know you're claiming that you're treating Palestinian children that have fucking bullet holes in their skulls, and this is unprecedented amounts of violence for even doctors such as yourself that have worked at numerous areas of conflict. But do you condemn Hamas? Do you believe that there are Hamas militants in the hospital? How many Hamas militants are in the fucking hospital? How many weapons are in the hospital? Those are the questions that they ask even Westerners that are working in the fucking hospitals. Will they ask the same questions to the IDF officials? No, of course not. That's my point. This plays a big role in the way that this conflict shapes people's perspectives. And God forbid there is a person out there who actually tries to make an accurate assessment with a morally consistent position. Then they get constantly fucking attacked as a vicious anti-Semite. understand that the reason why so many of these fucking weirdo outlets, like these right-wing outlets, are actively demanding my deplatforming is for this purpose. Because I don't play the fucking game that these guys are playing, whether willingly or unwillingly. Okay?
Panic and chaos as doctors and patients fled to the bomb shelters. This is the largest medical facility in the south. The emergency room was operational at the time of the attack, but there were only minor injuries. Seriously ill patients who require ongoing care have been taken to other hospitals. First responders and Israeli soldiers arrived to secure the scene. The hospital says the old surgical building was damaged, but that it had been evacuated days before the strike. Over Tel Aviv, the skies were ablaze with one explosion after another as Israel intercepted a wave of missiles. One breaking through and hitting this high-rise building. Some people were still trapped inside as first responders rushed to help. And relief and joy for this father who was reunited with his family, including his 10-month-old baby who'd been missing together with his wife for over an hour after the attack. A week of Israeli strikes against Iran has killed hundreds, including top military commanders, and damaged nuclear facilities. This morning, Israel hit the Arak heavy water reactor, which helps cool the reactor. But a byproduct is plutonium, which can be used in nuclear weapons. Iran has said that the strike on Soroka Hospital this morning was not intended for the health facility, but for a military intelligence site nearby. Tony?
Deborah Patta for us in Israel. Deborah, thank you very much.
Right there, that part of the hospital here, the Soroka Hospital, you can see the roof was basically blown off. This was after a missile strike from Iran into southern Israel early Thursday morning. You can see the side of
it. If we were fucking as depraved as the Hasbarists are online, we'd be looking at that baby and be like, oh, that's fake. That's Zio wood, you know? That's what they say. That's what they say about like literal fucking carcasses of children being held together by their goddamn parents after an insane strike. Tel Aviv wood, Tellywood, I don't know, whatever. It's called Pallywood. There's a term for it. Atrocity denial. That's what Israel defenders do.
It's still smoldering. And if we walk through here, you can see that there are shards of glass on the ground from the impact of the missile. Now, this happened after Israel launched another round of strikes on Iran. Israel started this conflict nearly a week ago. It said it wanted to eradicate Iran's nuclear program. It has expanded the sites that it has hit. It has ordered the evacuation of thousands of people from Iran. Iranian authorities have said hundreds of people have been killed. Overnight, Israel hit its water reactor. Now, the strike on this hospital is significant. This is the first strike, authorities say, on a hospital in this conflict in Israel. It is a major hospital in the south of Israel.
That's the first time an Israeli hospital has been struck. Interesting. They entertained striking Lebanese hospitals. I believe they did strike Lebanese hospitals. They blew up every single hospital in Gaza. Every single hospital in Gaza has been attacked by Israel. Most of them have been decommissioned, with the exception of like one or two at this point. And they've also been sieged endlessly. Okay. They struck a hospital in Iran. They killed healthcare professionals of the Red Crescent in Iran. Interestingly enough, first time this has happened in Israel proper. First time. 20 months. First fucking time.
Staff have said that a lot of people, most of them were in safe areas. Dozens of people were lightly injured, but most of the people had already been moved. A lot of these hospitals have underground bunkers where doctors are performing surgeries, and people have already been staying there. And they say that so far the damage to people.
Interesting. It's just an interesting dynamic that I'm observing here. Maybe because in the eyes of Western media, sure, access plays a big role in this. Okay. Access plays a big role in this. But I think the other thing that plays a big role in this is the reality that mainstream media operates on Western supremacist values. Israel is seen as a Western aligned state. Israel is basically packaged as a Western state. And these are the only human beings that suffer. The enemies of Israel, on the other hand, no matter their level of innocence, are considered either at most collateral damage, an unfortunate byproduct of war that must be waged. That's it. That's it. That's the reason why you see coverage about the victims from Israeli society. Now, a lot of people, regardless of this kind of attitude, have seen far too much death and destruction for the past 20 months that they have no sympathy whatsoever, and dare I say even celebrate this kind of thing. Obviously, I'm not going to celebrate an attack on a hospital, no matter which side the hospital belongs to. Okay? Having said that, make no mistake, Israel defenders have no ground to stand on this issue. And you should not allow them to try and farm sympathy points in this circumstance, knowing full well. Why not? What do you mean? Knowing full well that for the past 20 months, they have destroyed the entirety of the healthcare infrastructure in Gaza deliberately and championed that over and over again, claiming that the hospitals were dual use, falsely claiming that all of the hospitals in Gaza are Hamas command and control centers. Tamam da hastanede yatanların iki tarafta da suçsuz ve masum olması gerekmez mi? Şimdi İsrail hükümeti sinirden dolayı oh iyi olmuş havasından denmesi doğru mu? Buna sinirli olacağımız kişi propagandacılar. Tamam, evet. Ben de bunu yapıyorum zaten. Bana niye benim söylediğim şeyi Türkçe söyledin yani? Belki bilmiyorum, anlamıyorsun İngilizce konuştuğum zaman.
Has been minimal. They were prepared for it, but they say that they were still shocked that the hospital was hit.
Fox News alert.
I think what's interesting about this, though, is that while Israel will try to use this to farm sympathy and to create a victimhood narrative around Israel and be like, oh my God, can you imagine how devastating this is? Can you imagine how devastating it is that a hospital was struck? All this does is remind people of the 1,000 different instances where Israel has openly celebrated striking every fucking hospital in Gaza, openly talked about blowing up hospitals in Lebanon, actually blew up hospitals or struck hospitals in Lebanon, healthcare workers in Lebanon, and also striking hospitals in fucking Iran as well. So I think this also ends up creating more backlash because more people go, wait a minute. I remember when you were saying that Al-Shifa had a command center. Like, I remember when you were saying that. I was there. I was watching. I couldn't believe my eyes. You put out like a shitty-ass graphic image to be like, this is why it must be destroyed. Hold on. Do we know if this was an Israeli air defense missile that actually accidentally struck the hospital? Do we know if this was Israel bombing its own hospital? That's what you said in Al-Shifa. Right? Yeah. There is literally an endless collection of different types of horrific attacks against Palestinians, Lebanese, and Iranian hospitals being presented in a few short hours since the military target next to a hospital was struck by Iran. Yep. Yeah. Look at that. That's the Israeli Special Forces, once again, hiding as hospital workers and patients in a hospital in the West Bank to go and assassinate a patient in the hospital that was getting treatment. They killed him in his hospital bed. I understand your point, but hitting a hospital isn't a thing to celebrate. Point to when I have done that. Point to when I have done that in the last hour and 35 minutes that I've been live. Do it right now. I agree with you. Hitting a hospital isn't a thing to celebrate, which is why I'm telling you right now, this is a showcase of the depravity of Israeli society and Israel defenders broadly who have celebrated every single hospital being bombed. You know, I'm not saying you said that. Okay, thank you for your demonstration of fucking morality. Don't be disingenuous, pussy. You were implying it. I hate that shit. What does Tucker Carlson say? A feline way of making a statement without making the said statement. Anyway, this is from 14 hours ago. Sirens from Tel Aviv to Tiberias. Barrages of around 30 missiles, which would make it the largest in 2 days. Unverified photo of impact in occupied Palestine. Tel Aviv reports up to 50 missiles. Unclear if it was 30 or 50. Israeli air defense versus the latest barrage. This is from last night. Seems to have been hit. 2 hits at least, but it sounds like there's more than 2. More from the big explosion in Tel Aviv. Appears one of the explosions was so powerful that it shattered windows for several city blocks. Still don't know exactly what was hit. The aftermath of one of the impacts in Tel Aviv. This is kind of sad, but also comedic timing. But I did see this fall. Luckily, the person was not, harmed significantly. But I saw this exact sign fall on someone after while the CNN journalist was covering this area. Also, if you want to know how fucking insane a statement this is, Benjamin Netanyahu literally found a way to make this about himself, which is incredible. Netanyahu, there have been people killed. Each one of us pays a personal price. My son Avner canceled his wedding. Womp womp, dude.
לצערנו גם נהרגו. משפחות ששכלו יקירים.
Yeah, everyone's paying a personal price for this, Why are they paying this price, by the way? People being killed? Because you wanted to strike Iran. You struck Iran. And you thought, no retaliation will take place. I'm just simply striking Iran. What do you mean? They don't want the smoke. It'll be just like Gaza. Oops, turns out it's not just like fucking Gaza. They have entire munitions depots that they have designed specifically for this moment. So the people are sacrificing their lives for your ambitions. That's number one. And then number two, what is Benjamin Netanyahu's sacrifice? Flying out to fucking Greece back and forth, maybe every now and then. But then also simultaneously, his son had to cancel his wedding. It's so sad.
אני מאוד מעריך את זה. כל אחד מאיתנו נושא מחיר אישי. זה לא פסח על המשפחה שלי. כן, פעם שנייה שבני
This is the second time my son Avner has gone through this. Because the threat of missiles and rocket fires cancels the wedding. It's certainly a high personal price for him. And for his fiancée and for our family. And I must say, my dear wife is a hero. It's kind of crazy because it's like, if you're an Israeli and you saw, I don't know, your fucking mother or your grandparents get destroyed because they were sleeping when the missile struck, like that one Israeli woman that we watched who went, no, this is actually still valid. We have to still keep blowing up Iran. After she went on television and literally said, I'm really sad that my grandmother died because they were sleeping and they couldn't make it to a shelter, but Israel still has to fucking keep blowing up Iran. When you hear Benjamin Netanyahu, your leadership, who started this, say, we're all suffering in our own way. I can't have a wedding for my son. Like, how does that make you feel? Because I feel like some people are losing more than others. You know? At this point, I guess, like, if you're so full tilt on board with bombing Iran, then even the repercussions that you experience in the process, albeit marginal, are worthwhile. Because you're just like, well, ultimately, we're still killing Iranians over there, and I like that. My appetite for death and destruction is endless. So in the process, if my grandparents die, or even if my loved ones die, it's fine. She has carried a personal price for years as I lead this move against the Iranian nuclear program. She has gone through this. She has sacrificed the best of her years, and she's given me all the strength to be here. Because without her, I would not be here. And so have my two. Yeah. Israel's a natural disaster, even in Israel. No, up until this moment, up until Israel actually met a force that was able to retaliate in kind, even if its retaliations are severely limited, as opposed to what Israel is doing to Iran, Israel has never experienced any serious repercussions. As a matter of fact, civil disobedience in the direction of trying to penalize Israel for its ethnic cleansing campaign, like boycotts, divestments, and sanctions from the state of Israel, and the demands for said sanctions from the state of Israel have been considered anti-Semitic, and people have gotten in trouble for advocating for even peacefully dealing with Israel. That is how protected Israeli society is. That is how sheltered Israeli society has been. One of the only countries in the fucking region that actually said, you know what, we're going to implement a blockade on the Red Sea off of our coastline. As long as Israel continues to starve the Gazan population, we will do our very best to stop trade and shut down at least one of the ports that Israeli society relies on. And they did that successfully. This was Yemen. Yemen did this successfully. Okay? And guess what happened? They got bombed into oblivion by the American government for doing this. That is how sheltered and protected Israeli society is. Yemen never stopped doing this, of course. And it has been fairly successful. Their blockade has been fairly successful. Doesn't matter. Daddy's American will send 10 bill. I mean, we have expended more than 10 billion. We've expended more than $27 billion so far. I think the estimate that I looked at yesterday was like $27 billion is what the cost has been so far to America. We're footing the fucking bill. And that was in November of 2024. So since then, the price has gone up even more. Whereas there was a fucking tweet that I wanted to show you guys from, again, Emmanuel Fabian, who literally fucking showed new weapons coming in from the Western world, you know, air defenses, and Israel's defenses are being beefed up by Western allies nonstop. Arguing against arming terrorist groups is so un-American. Can you stop? What? Arguing? Yeah, okay, you're right. Fair. You got me. There's also reports that Soroka Medical Center was damaged in what looks like a massive blast. Unverified reports of the 4-story building collapse. Still waiting on more images. Might be this partial collapse. Location of the strike is Holon, south of Tel Aviv. This, I believe, is if I'm not mistaken, this was next to the stock exchange or something. Am I wrong? Bro, Kuwait literally is at a state of war with Kuwait, as now we're stuck between it. What? What are you saying? Lots of damage to multiple buildings in the Diamond Exchange district of Tel Aviv. Yeah, this was a Diamond Exchange. There was also an insane tweet an insane Hebrew tweet that I translated, and it was like a crazy surprise. I saw finally a translate to English from Hebrew tweet that did not make me want to throw up instantly. Normally, when the meme is, the meta is, when you translate posts from Hebrew, it is the most Nazi thing you've ever seen in your entire life. But there are incredibly rare, almost like a loot box. This is like a CS:GO knife. Yeah, never been so pleasantly surprised by a translated Hebrew tweet in my life. Here is Yoav Groweiss. People here have never stopped justifying the shelling of hospitals in the Gaza Strip. But the second they fire on a hospital here, suddenly everyone comes out against the violation of the laws of war. We are like the player who never stops playing dirty, but the second someone touches him, he throws himself to the ground and screams foul. This is an incredibly rare translate from Hebrew tweet that you translate and your expectation is like going to be the most blood-curdling shit you've ever heard, and it's the exact opposite. It's like a very normal take.